Welcome to an overview of the Scarborough Community's 2020 Comprehensive Plan. This plan is the culmination of input from community residents, town committees, and local organizations. It has also used data from local, state, and national sources to inform the process. The plan reflects the vision of Scarborough and presents a blueprint for a sustainable future that reflects the priorities and values of the community. My name is Dave Merrill. I'm the chair of the Long Range Planning Committee, or LRPC as it's fondly called. This is the committee charged by the council with bringing forward a document for adoption. We have solicited feedback from all the groups above and been at the hub of communications throughout this process. It has been our objective to hone down a vast amount of information down into a document that has something useful for every resident and perhaps opens some eyes to the complexities and interdependencies of the town. The presentation tonight will talk about the community vision reflected in the plan, review the public input process, describe plan strategies, and identify steps towards adoption. We look forward to tonight's discussion and ongoing community dialogue.
Hi, I'm Jay Chase. I'm the planning director here in Scarborough, and along with the voices of the Long Range Planning Committee members and Karen Martin, the director of the Economic and Development Corporation here in town, I'm pleased to present this plan to you this evening. The plan starts with a vision from the community. We will talk in a moment about the public process that it went into developing this, so I'm not going to take time to do that here, but it is overall a visionary document that provides a blueprint for smart, sustainable evolution that reflects the priorities and values of Scarborough residents. The plan seeks to safeguard the town's history and sense of place by stimulating the conditions for short and long-term needs as identified through the planning process. In many ways, the 2020 Comprehensive Plan builds on the foundation of the 2006 Comprehensive Plan. It seeks to implement a vision that preserves the character of Scarborough while addressing targeted development in a way that provides for economic opportunities, protects the natural environment, and improves upon the high quality of life for all residents. In many ways, the 2006 Comprehensive Plan was a very prescriptive plan that described exact measures for the community to embrace in moving forward. The 2020 Comprehensive Plan has taken a different tact in really thinking about systems and seeks a more synergistic approach to the diverse range of activities that occur within the town between development, preservation of open space, traffic, housing choices, while thinking about the impacts on not only our residents, but on the municipal capacity to serve the future needs. The comprehensive plan touches on a diverse range of town activities and policies that are important for the community and future leaders and decision makers to consider in the context of the entire community. As the plan touches on such a wide-ranging activities and policies across the entire community, it's important to understand that not everything in this plan is intended to happen once or to happen quickly. This is a visionary document for the community to rely on and look to as we develop and implement future policies and regulations for the town.
Hello, I'm Robin Saunders. I live in the Pleasant Hill neighborhood. I'm a member of the Long Range Planning Committee and liaison to the Planning Board, where I've served for 5 years. I'm pleased to introduce you to the first of our 5 visions in the town of Scarborough's comprehensive plan. Vision 1, the marsh is central to our identity and therefore future land use will follow a pattern of development that is sensitive to protecting the marsh as well as the town's natural resources. Under this vision, the plan identifies strategies such as future land use map, balancing growth and the natural environments, sustainability, conservation, stormwater management, sea level rise, vulnerabilities, and I'm quite pleased to see that stewardship is near the top of the list of guiding principles for our comprehensive plan.
Hi, my name is Corey Fellows. My wife and I live in the Pine Point area, and we have 3 boys, all of whom attend Scarborough High. I formerly served on the planning board, including several years as board chair. During that time, I've seen Scarborough go through multiple economic ups and downs along with the region and nation, but it has continued an overall trajectory of controlled development and growth. Effective land use planning requires more than just making zoning designations or painting different colors on a map. Our land use vision should be a dynamic reflection of our community's values and aspirations. Future land use patterns will create opportunities for the efficient delivery of municipal services and infrastructure, resulting in fiscal sustainability. Under this vision, the comprehensive plan identifies strategies that consider the long-term financial stability of the town, infrastructure investments, and resiliency, all while maintaining balanced budgets, strategic partnerships, public safety services, recycling, a community center, broadband, public school facilities, and the library.
Good evening. My name is Rick Cheney, and I'm a member of the Long Range Planning Committee. I also currently serve on the board of directors of the Scarborough Economic Development Corporation and am president of the Scarborough Land Trust. Previously, I served on the planning board, as well as a number of committees in town, including the Growth and Services Committee and the Open Space Committee. Lastly, in 2006, I chaired the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee that drafted the current comprehensive plan. I've been a resident of Scarborough since 1994, and I live with my wife in a development off the Black Point Road known as Prout's Landing. Tonight, I'd like to introduce to you Vision 3 of the 2020 Draft Comprehensive Plan. Vision 3 anticipates that our ordinances will support the diversity and character of existing and emerging neighborhoods, centers, and open spaces in town. Under this vision, we look at the need for a simplified zoning ordinance, home affordability and availability, opportunities for active living, and the development of community and community identity. We look forward tonight to a more detailed discussion of Vision 3, as well as the other aspects of the comprehensive plan, and ultimately look forward to the council's adoption of the plan. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Dave Merrill, a member of the Long Range Planning Committee. I've lived in the Windward Heights neighborhood of Scarborough for almost 20 years and worked in the design and construction industry for almost 30. I got involved during the previous 2006 comprehensive plan as a committee member and have participated on many of the subsequent committees formed to implement and study planning initiatives in the town. I want to introduce you to Vision 4 of the plan's 5 visions. Vision 4 states, Scarborough's economy will support a broad assortment of companies that will provide stability to the tax base, that blend with and protect the natural resource base, and that support opportunities for its residents. Under this vision, we look at the components of a healthy and sustainable local economy, such as entrepreneurship, branding, communication, infrastructure, information, working with our natural resource-based organizations and labor force. This vision was culled from comments and feedback received during the initial outreach done at the beginning of our process. It signals one of the common themes brought forward in the 5 visions and is intended to provoke thought, discussion, and study in the years to come as we shape the evolution of Scarborough. It is our hope that future groups will take this vision and formulate creative, sound ideas to promote a well-balanced and healthy economy for our town. I thank you for your time and continued thoughtful input.
Hello, my name is Judy Roy, and I've lived in Scarborough for 68 years and currently live over in the Green Acres area. I've been involved in the town since '99, serving on the council for 15 years in that period of time, from then until November of '05. And I'm pleased to serve on the Long Range Planning Committee. And my focus would be to introduce vision number 5. Vision 5, Scarborough's transportation network will support current and future land uses that create efficiencies, which reduce the impact of traffic on residents and businesses. Under this vision, we look at the impact of traffic on residents, walkability, improving connectivity, transit opportunities, complete streets, and street acceptance standards in the changing technology in traffic management.
Hello, my name is Alan Paul, and I'm a former member of the Planning Board and currently serve as a member on the Long Range Planning Committee and on the Board of Directors for the Scarborough Economic Development Corporation. I live off Black Point Road in Prouts Landing along with my wife, and we have lived at that residence for 25 years. In addition to the plan vision, this plan contains a conservation and growth map. The conservation and growth map sets up the framework for a general pattern of development in land use by setting forth strategies such as outlying areas west of the turnpike should retain their rural character and protect open spaces. Natural areas, agriculture, land, and open space should be protected and connected wherever feasible. Public water and sewer infrastructure should be encouraged within designated growth areas. A majority of new residential and commercial development should be located in the growth areas. The identity of established neighborhoods should be enhanced, and new development should complement the existing scale and design. Businesses are an essential part of the community and will continue to contribute a significant portion of local taxes. Future zoning and land use regulations will adapt as necessary to implement the visions and strategies of the plan.
The Conservation and Growth Map is the articulation of many of the strategies that are laid out in the plan and many that we have just heard from Alan. Through the public planning sessions, we heard support from the community regarding the concept of a conservation and growth approach that focuses on conserving land first and designating focused areas where development and redevelopment should occur. By allowing for more intense development in areas specifically chosen by the community for future growth and limiting development elsewhere, Scarborough can reap environmental and economic benefits and steward its natural resources and protect the character of the existing neighborhoods in the community. By organizing the town according to conservation and growth areas, intentional and informed decisions can be made about how to most effectively spend municipal dollars on infrastructure improvement consistent with the plan. The Conservation and Growth Map is organized around different growth sectors that set out conservation priorities and inform the intensity and character of new development. The boundaries of these sectors are imperfect and intended to reflect a general pattern of desired future growth. The conservation open space sector is an area that is protected from development in perpetuity, either through environmental protection laws or regulations, as well as land acquired for conservation through the purchases of easement or outright purchase of the land. These also include our surface water bodies, such as the marsh and streams, and other riparian corridors and wildlife areas. The conservation and open space sector amounts to 24% of the total area of the town. The rural residential sector remains a rural area with limited development. The remaining agricultural land is preserved in cooperation with landowners, and opportunities for connecting natural areas and open spaces are explored, including a greenway along the Nonsuch River. Future residential development that does occur is intended to be at low density and designed to maintain the rural character of the area and provide buffers along significant natural resources. The rural residential sector of the plan equates to 48% of the town's area. The low to moderate density residential sector encompasses a number of our residential neighborhoods. The character and identity of these various neighborhoods is to be maintained, and infill is to be a scale and character that is compatible with the existing development. The availability and quality of the public infrastructure, including green spaces, are upgraded as a result of development and implementation of neighborhood plans. Low to moderate density residential sector comprises 15% of the town's land area. Low to moderate density non-residential growth sector is an area that is mostly developed in commercial and industrial suburban patterns, but still contains some underutilized parcels and redevelopment opportunities. These are areas that were developed in conventional, auto-oriented suburban pattern and are not expected to change much except for incremental improvements to businesses as they come and go. New development and redevelopment should be encouraged to articulate some of the goals of the community with respect to infrastructure improvements. The low to moderate density non-residential areas comprise 13% of our land area. As previously mentioned, 87% of the area is really identified for very minimal changes to the overall characteristic and design of the town. The main focus of the growth and discussion of this comprehensive plan are really around 9% of the area that are encompassed by these activity centers. While the plan focuses much of the verbiage and language around these limited land areas, these are the areas that have the greatest challenges and opportunities for focusing the future growth so we can preserve those characteristics and natural areas that the community has identified they so value. The focus of the growth areas are really around activity centers, such as the Regional Activity Center, which you can see in the middle of the map, which is around the Scarborough Downs and Higas Parkway area, as well as the community activity centers, which encompass Oak Hill and Dunstan. The Regional Activity Center has been identified potential development for tremendous opportunity to create an authentic and complete town center within Scarborough and have a regional draw. This would consist of a mix of uses and walkable area where people can live, shop, work. This would be the most intensely developed area of the town. It includes Scarborough Downs property as well as parcels generally within a mile radius, including the Higas Parkway. The other identified areas are called community activity centers, and these are the Oak Hill area and Dunstan neighborhoods, as I mentioned. These are largely built out areas, but still have many vacant or underutilized land areas with opportunities for redevelopment within those communities. Additional growth and development in the areas is desirable due to the presence of existing infrastructure and services, and the plan envisions that most residential and non-residential development over the next 10 years will occur either in the Regional Activity Center or the Community Activity Centers. The plan also describes an area called the Corridor Transformation Sector. This really runs along the Route 1 corridor between Dunstan and Oak Hill, and really envisions the area to evolve as a mixed-use commercial district, connecting the two activity centers. However, the Route 1 corridor warrants some additional attention for access management and traffic calming, with a progressive transformation of development patterns to increase the amenities in the area. Development patterns should consider orientation around reliable and regular transit as more viable densities in the activity centers increase. The remaining sector I haven't mentioned are our village growth sectors, which are some of the town's original village areas that already provide some moderate level of services to the neighborhoods which surround them. These include the North Scarborough area, areas around Eight Corners, Black Point neighborhood, the Higgins Beach neighborhood, and the Pine Point Beach neighborhood. While each village has its own characteristics and intensities of residential and non-residential uses, in the future, such services will be maintained at a level consistent with the overall pattern of development within each village. As we conclude tonight's presentation, we want to provide an update of the process for moving forward towards adoption of the plan. While this draft was forwarded to the council in early March by the Long Range Planning Committee, COVID interrupted the expected adoption process. And as such, we are re-engaging the process, which began in October with a joint hearing of the Town Council, Planning Board, and Long Range Planning Committee. Following that joint workshop, we are conducting these 3 public forums to engage public comment. Based on the feedback received at these public forums and in emails and other written correspondence, the Long Range Planning Committee will reconvene for any final adjustments prior to making recommendations to the council. Ultimately, the recommendations made by the Long Range Planning Committee are just that, recommendations. The plan's formal adoption is made by Town Council. As part of the formal adoption process, the Town Council and Planning Board will also hold public hearings on the matter, which are expected to occur sometime early in the new year.
I hope the community recognizes this plan as a visionary document. There's work to do once the plan is adopted, but now we have a vision.
Excellent. Well, hopefully that gave folks who haven't had a chance yet to read the plan a good overview of the plan. And for those who have had an opportunity to look at the plan, a sort of reminder of some of the overarching themes and goals that are sought. As I said at the outset of this presentation, really tonight we want to hear from you folks who are in the audience. We've had a couple of folks join us during the video, so that's great. But before we do that, Karen, do you just want to spend a moment and talk a little bit about the public process that's gotten us to where we are? This is a project that started in May of 17, and why don't you take us from there, and then we'll jump into the discussion.
Thanks, Jay. The comprehensive plan really is about trying to figure out what the community is interested in, what their vision of the future is. And when we went into this process, I think the Long Range Planning Committee and the consultants that we worked with really wanted to take advantage of both new and old technologies, or I should say new and traditional technologies with respect to reaching out. So over the course of the plan development, I'm going to say we've had 29 public meetings, and through that we've done the traditional workshop where we bring people in. Those I think we did back in 2017, called them the Imagine the Future meetings, and we asked people who attended the meetings, really what their hopes and visions were for the community. And I think a lot of that input you'll see in the vision statements that were developed. But we also tried to do a few new things and do some experiments. And one of those experiments was what we called Planapalooza. And that was a week-long workshop that took place really over Scarborough grounds. And that was a hands-on, just roll your sleeves up, tell us what's on your mind. And people from all different neighborhoods and different types of demographics, they showed up, they rolled up their sleeves, they worked with maps, put some of their visions of the future on maps, and the consultants took that to work with. During Planapalooza, we also had some specialty workshops where we talked about individual topics within the comp plan. And we also, aside from having public meetings, we know that there's a lot of people who just can't go to meetings. And so one of the things we did was we created really an online engagement website. And in that online engagement website, it was called Scarborough Engaged. We used a platform that was designed for community engagement. And within that platform, we could post documents, people could post comments, people could review what other folks did at different committee meetings and things like that. And throughout that process of the Scarborough Engaged, we had over 3,000 people sign in, look at different pieces of the website. And of those 3,000 plus folks, about 2,000 of them really, either they viewed videos or they had some deeper level of engagement with the information. And about 1,000 folks, a little bit over 1,000 folks, actually downloaded the first draft of the comp plan. So that's pretty exciting that we got a 200-page document in the hands of about 1,000 people. We hope for more, but I think we were pretty excited about that. And then the plan was really worked on from the draft perspective, and we had another round of meetings, and people could participate. We did 3 or 4 different meetings. We worked with town committees because we really felt like the town has a whole host of specialty folks who are involved with the town and are interested in everything from sustainability to transportation to economic development. And we wanted to get the plan into the hands of these different groups. And then, of course, we certainly had digital engagement from Facebook and the town newsletter and all of the other types of digital format where we could get that information out to people. But all in all, I think we stuck with some of our traditional methods. We took some risks and tried some new types of engagement. And I think overall, we've had a lot of people involved in the plan. There's always room for more, but I think, again, over the course of doing 29 public meetings and online engagement and just general being able to answer questions for folks, we've really tried to get out there in the community.
Great. Thanks, Karen. So I don't know if any committee members want to echo or say anything before we open up for public discussion. Looks like Judy and Jean Marie. Judy, you want to go ahead and you're muted at the moment. I'm asking to unmute. Jean Marie, while Judy figures that out,
push that a little bit. I can do it.
Judy's got it.
Yeah. I just think one of the things that we didn't do the last meeting was it, I don't know what night it was now, Tuesday or Wednesday, one of those. We had problems with dates, but I think, Jay and Karen need a great big thank you. I think, they see this comprehensive plan in their sleep. They have breakfast with it and they let it be put to bed at night with it. And I think they did an awesome job because we did grab into some areas that we, and methods that we hadn't done before with the other comp plans in 06 and 99. I've been available for all of those. And so I see the differences. And I think, Jay and Karen really did a tremendous job because it was the virus has diminish the amount of, close contact and how we, put things together. And I think that complicated the things, but they didn't let us put them aside. But I just want to be sure that that gets said. It's they held us together while other things were falling apart. So thank you.
Thanks, Judy.
Thanks, Judy.
I just wanted to add, and I know some people heard us the other night, heard me say this before, and I apologize, I was late arriving today, but that the folks in town just keep in mind that this isn't, anything that we call prescriptive. In other words, we don't say you have to do A, B, C, D. That it's really like painting a picture. It's like broad brush. It's a vision of where we think at this point in time we'd like to see the town go. So it gives us a blueprint. And as I'm fond of saying, that it's like, when you plan a trip in your car, unless you have a goal, you could end up anywhere. So it gives us, something to work towards. And I also want to remind people that, it can be tweaked, and it is tweaked over time, depending on situations and opportunities that come up. So if folks could keep that in the back of their mind while we're, doing this process, that would be helpful. Thanks.
Concur.
And I'll just briefly tag on to that. It was noted the other night that the last update to the comp plan in 06 was more prescriptive, and it was explained that a lot of that was just due to perceived need to really fix some of the zoning. And the comprehensive plan implementation committee, which was sort of the precursor to long range planning, then was tasked with implementing as many of those changes as possible. And some of the committee members who are here this evening, as well as others who participated previously in other forums, were involved in some of that implementation. So I think there was a general feeling that given where the town is now, and it's sort of a crossroads, and that a lot of that more kind of prescriptive zoning repair work, if you will, had already been accomplished, that this is really an opportunity to do something that's more visionary and provides, to use Jean Marie's words, some broad brush frameworks for moving forward without being really specific, not specific, but without being really prescriptive about these things shall happen. Nothing in the comp plan commits the town to any particular budgetary commitments or spending. There are things in there that certainly would have those implications, and that the town collectively through the town council and voters and others will need to work through. But it's really not setting the town on any specific path that commits it to specific things. I just wanted to make that observation too. And I apologize if anyone can hear the trombone coming from my room next door.
Nope, we didn't get the musical background.
It's not sad trombones. That's good.
That's good.
All right.
Great. So let's see. At this point, why don't we open it up to the attendees? What we'll ask is folks to raise their hand if they wish to speak. The little raise your hand feature should be down at the bottom of your screen if you're on a desktop. And if you do that, we'll be able to see hands go up, and we'll bring you in to voice your comments, questions, or what have you. Great. Let's see. Terry's hand has gone up. Terry, we'll bring you over here in just a minute, and we'll love to hear what you have to say.
Am I unmuted?
You are.
All right. Looking to respect the three-minute timing, I might not get through a lot of stuff, or I might drag on to 3.5. But good evening, and thanks for the open forum to allow considerations for the plan. I'm Terry Kane of Gunstock Road and Ocean Avenue at Higgins Beach. I'm representing the Higgins Beach Association Board of Directors tonight and also the Higgins Beach Civic Committee. The board voted to support doing what we can to remove Higgins Beach from the village growth sector designation and asked me to speak for them. I listened in on Tuesday night when a few Higgins Beach residents had some angst around the whole growth designation. And it really does give us some heartburn to be designated as a growth village. For those of you who've been there, ain't much room left for much. But we'd like to make a specific request to the committee to remove Higgins Beach from the village category, just because I think a lot of things show that it doesn't belong in this sector. And what I want to focus on is in reading the 7 strategies and the on page 104 of the plan headlined villages. When we read these, I think we can show that the language of the comp plan itself actually demonstrates why Higgins Beach is mislabeled. In that one on page 104, there's 3 points basically in there. First says village areas provide a level of services to the surrounding neighborhood. The fact that Higgins Beach is very, very limited services are provided the neighborhood. The Higgins Beach Inn and Breakers are hotels. They provide service to non-locals. The Higgins Beach Market serves mostly visitors to the beach, and all 3 of them only do it seasonally. It seems like they would leave Higgins Beach out, as some of the rest of these ideas would too. Second point says each village growth center is unique. Different degrees of anticipated growth are carefully considered. When we looked at this, we thought, and everybody has kind of agreed, there's the growth opportunity at Higgins Beach is pretty near 0. And thus perhaps again suggests we shouldn't belong in the village group. It's simply because even if you could do a tiny bit there, it doesn't seem like it would serve the town's purpose the way the other 4 do. And the last one says that these services provided to locals are consistent with the pattern of development in each village. That was how that concluded. And we think the pattern of development at Higgins Beach can only be labeled as complete. It's done. The discussion Tuesday night, somebody made reference to the fact that houses are doubling and tripling in size there on occasion, but we don't believe that counts as growth just because the house got bigger. So the language of all 3 of these points really kind of shows us being mislabeled. And then the other one I'd like to look at is a couple of pieces of the 7 strategies that we think kind of fall in the same place. Their own words show why we should not be aligned with growth with a capital G. And the number 4 says the majority of new residential development and all non-residential development should be located in the village growth areas. Simply, there is no new residential development to be had at Higgins Beach. There might be 2 empty lots in the woods somewhere, making our designation as growth incorrect for that. And non-residential development is just as limited. Then after that, in that section, the town, the section, and this is where I think we have our largest heartburn. That section then directs the town, as I think Karen was, somebody was saying earlier as they were reading through that stuff. It directs the town. Oh, where'd I go? I'm sorry. It directs the town to encourage higher density and intensity in the growth areas. And if you want something to scare people at Higgins Beach, those words will do it. There's the intensity and the density out there is pretty solid as it is. As I said, that directive is very problematic for the committee or the Higgins Beach community. And last, strategy number 6 says opportunities to integrate business clusters should be encouraged in growth areas. Higgins Beach has 2 or 3 seasonal only businesses and 0 opportunity to add more. Business clusters are right up there with high density and intensity. What would a business cluster ever how would that materialize at Higgins Beach? So the whole point of this part, and we thought about how we would want to word this. We really respect everything that the town does and our community relationship with the town that has developed real well. So we just wanted to make some points about that, and then ask for this, ask for, in the end, for the village growth sector moniker to be taken away. The reason is that why are we wary of the word growth in this comprehensive plan? And the reason is because of the clout that the comprehensive plan has in the future. There's always that phrase of oh, it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. So we're trying to avoid a scene 5 or 10 years from now where an attempt could be done to make undesirable development possible at Higgins Beach because it is consistent with the comprehensive plan, which shows Higgins as a targeted growth area. And that's the fear. So in conclusion, others have noted, as other people noted the other night, and you'll hear this probably every time somebody talks about it, Higgins Beach very closely resembles the Prouts Neck community. And I did recognize that the golf course and inn kind of discussion from Tuesday night. We don't have a golf course, but we have a big beach. There's nothing left to do. So at Prouts Neck, you can't put a lot of growth and development there. Same is the seasonal nature of both places, the lack of room for meaningful economic growth really suggest that the village growth sector does not belong to us. At one point in the 2018 era, both Higgins and Prouts Neck, when things were being called a hamlet, were in that growth. We would like to request the committee to consider to remove the village growth sector designation for Higgins Beach, as has been done for our neighbors at Prouts Neck, for all the reasons of not to complain about it or anything like that. It just doesn't fit. And we really can't get around that. Anyway, thank you. Appreciate the time to give me to speechify. And whatever open discussions anybody wants to have on this can be had now or some other time, or we'll follow up with it with you guys. And we appreciate everything you do.
Great. Thank you, Terry.
Jay, can I say something about that? Terry, thanks for bringing up, and I know some other people have brought that up too, as well as my relatives who live at Higgins Beach. As I mentioned the other night, that word growth is a triggering word, particularly for areas like Higgins Beach. So if there is some sort of other designation, or just call it Higgins Beach, or call it, beach area or whatever, to me makes sense. And it's not just Prouts Neck. I mean, Pine Point you could look at too, or portions of Pine Point. Are they developed as much as they're going to be developed at this point? So that's a good thing for us to think about, particularly in these coastal areas, given that we want to preserve, the sense of these areas, the environment down there. I get it why people are going, what, growth? I could say the same thing for North Scarborough, to be honest with you. I mean, in North Scarborough, those of us who live out in North Scarborough, we don't necessarily want to see it grow, but we'd like to see 114 traffic reduced, and then a sense of a village restored like it was back before, the turnpike and whatever, which was a long time ago. But anyway, that's enough for now. But yes, we hear you, Terry. I hear you guys down in Higgins. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. And I listened to you the other night too about where you live. And a lot of what I was trying to get to there was that it isn't just that we're not comfortable with the word growth. It doesn't seem like it's very accurate into what the comprehensive plan is trying to do. So from the town's point of view, is that something that would confuse things later on? Here's this little place that's called a growth sector, and you could barely fit a teepee in there.
They're all valid. I think just from a quick 2 cents on my perspective, I think you're exactly right. But it is a village, and we want to maintain that character as a village or a neighborhood. But I think the cross references kind of extrapolate that out of common sense from where you're coming from. So I think we need to look at the cross references in the description and maintain the village, but think hard about how it's described beyond differently the growth.
Jay, wasn't that actually done in the 2018 thing where the things were hamlets? You had a hamlet and a growth hamlet, and
Sure.
that gave you the ability to do both. So if you had a village and a growth village as 2 different designations along with all those others, that would allow you to take care of having the most accurate way to put Higgins Beaches as a village, and same with maybe a few others. And then in areas that are villages that are growth villages like Oak Hill and them, keep that designation.
Yep. Yeah, I think we made some adjustment from the 2018 draft, but we're clearly hearing, I think there's more discussion for the committee to have around the concerns that have been expressed by the neighborhood. I just looking at the screen and seeing nodding heads, it sounds as though the voice is resonating.
Well, we appreciate it. Thanks.
And I would just add briefly that, thinking back to the early phases of the drafting of this version of the comp plan, my recollection is that there was, I think some of this was an outgrowth of a desire to try and make sure that the plan really captured the fact that there are these kind of separate little village centers around the town. And one of the defining characteristics of, of Scarborough is that we don't have a true town center, and we have these little nodes, which include Pine Point, Oak Hill, 8 Corners, maybe Higgins. And I think I think a lot of the intent was to try to recognize that as sort of a starting point. And I think to get to a little bit of what Dave was just saying, that I think it was really more to try to recognize that those are valued, that they are, kind of distinct places within the town. And then I think maybe where things got a little, crosswise for some is that then from there, the growth, the whole sort of growth notion was attached to it. So yeah, we definitely hear that, and that's clearly going to be something that's looked at.
And the term activity center, I think, is where we were really thinking, that's where more growth would be directed, and the activity centers are overlaid only on Oak Hill and Dunstan, and then the center of town as well. So I think that's correct, Jay, that the activity centers were really focused on that central area of town and not on the outlying villages. So I think there's lots that we can do to clean that language up.
Great. Thanks again, Terry.
Appreciate the listening.
You bet. Let's see. I see Anne has her hand up. Welcome, Anne. Nice to hear from you again. And it appears you're unmuted on our end, but I'm not hearing you. Let's see, let's see if we can figure out if we can figure out how to get Anne unmuted. I'm sort of on my end trying to ask to unmute Anne, so I'm not sure if that's working. So let's leave Anne where she is for the moment and see if we can work that out. Are there others who wish to speak? At this point, I'm not seeing anyone else's hand up, and we certainly hope to hear from others.
Anne looks like she's unmuted.
Yeah, it does look like she's unmuted. I see that as well. Thanks, Jean Marie, but still not hearing anything, unfortunately. I know Ann had joined us on Tuesday night, I believe it was, and shared similar concerns to what Terry just
Yeah.
expressed regarding Higgins Beach, but certainly there may be other areas of interest. And I did, I'll mention it again while we have this brief moment. If you see the name that I have on my little picture there, I've actually put my email up so folks can email any comments, questions, concerns, what have you, directly to me, and those will be shared with council and with the Long Range Planning Committee as we consider our do further consideration.
And is your volume up on your computer? I know sometimes people mute their computers by mistake or phone.
I actually do see a phone number here. Maybe, I don't know if Ann had also called in.
She called in the other night. I think
bring that phone number over, Jamel, if you don't mind, and maybe Ann's sitting on the phone. I'm gonna ask to unmute that. And if that's someone else, that's quite okay. Don't feel the need to speak. And I'm sorry.
How's that?
Here we go.
Ann?
Okay. Somebody just told me what to do.
Great, glad we found you, Ann.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I got an echo here, so it's kind of hard.
Yep.
Let me go away from the screen, and I'll be better off. Okay. When I heard the plan, I was encouraged by certain phrases, including that areas should retain their rural nature and be protected, and also conservation of the natural resources that you have. And both, to me, apply to Higgins Beach. I grew up in South Portland, so coming from Sporwink or Sawyer along 77 to Higgins Beach, to me, that is a beautiful rural area that needs to stay that way. And to have more development or more in the Higgins Beach area would be very sad. And I don't see it as a village, I see it as a community. But I do hope that you get rid of the growth and make it something else. That's all I had to say.
Great, thank you, Ann.
And thank you for your response to me by email.
And this is
Yes.
Jean Marie. What year did you graduate from South Portland? Sorry, guys.
66.
Oh, okay. I was 73. So I just.
Oh, you're younger than me.
It's okay. That's right. I used to go to Higgins all the time when I was a kid. So there you go.
Oh, I didn't start until 75. So.
Oh, okay. That's
Great. Thanks again, Ann. Let's see. So, not seeing any hands up at the moment. And I know sometimes it can be difficult, again, on Zoom to try to get your voice in or oh, great, I'm seeing a hand up, but I am just going to echo one more time that my email address is right there for you. And it looks like, is this Caitlin? I think it is. We'll bring over to.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Gotcha, yeah.
Okay. I apologize because I just realized this was happening tonight, and I have a plan to fully read the comprehensive development plan, which I have not yet downloaded it. But in general, my husband and I, we just wanted to, we're growing increasingly concerned about the amount of growth taking place in the town in general. And our main priority, why we moved here in the first place, is because of things like the Marsh, a little more green space. And we're just really concerned about growth. And I'm just hearing your presentation at the beginning. I hear preserving the Marsh area, which is great. And I know things like the Eastern Village were put in place, as I understand it previously, concerned about those kinds of growth, high density growth kinds of things. And what I guess I'm wondering is I hear talk of growth in the Oak Hill area, and as I believe you said, the Oak Hill area in between Oak Hill and Pine Point on Route 1. And I'm just wondering if someone could speak to, because Oak Hill area seems pretty dense right now as is, what kind of growth would be a vision for that area, I guess? And is there any ability to further develop the marsh, or is that fully protected at this point?
Let's see, I'll take a first crack at it. I would say in terms of protections of the marsh, there certainly are some protections in place, and there's always more a community can do. And I think that's really what, this comprehensive plan is intended to sort of set a vision or a goal for the town to obtain, but it doesn't necessarily speak to exactly how we get there. So I think that question around the marsh and preservation of the marsh is going to be an ongoing discussion with the community. In terms of when we talk about trying to direct growth to the growth areas, it is really, to enable sort of more mix of uses than the community has seen, at least, in our sort of growth bubble of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, early 2000s, which was very, auto-centric, if you will, in its design. It also really separated land uses. The residential folks, we lived, in the neighborhoods that were very separate from the Route 1 commercial corridor or the Payne Road corridor. In a lot of ways, that still has function and brings a lot of value to the community. But there's also opportunity, if we want to try to preserve what is left of the rural character of the community and preserve some of those more the traditional neighborhoods, like along Pleasant Hill, if you will, or other type areas, to try to activate the land area along Route 1. In Oak Hill, in Dunstan, and certainly Scarborough Downs, to bring, as I said, sort of activate the intensity of use. So it may not be that we're talking about seeing 6-story buildings per se, but it's really about articulating some of the zoning changes that occurred through the 2006, where you might see a building where the first floor is, the retail, restaurant, office space, and maybe the second story has a few small apartment buildings or apartment units, I should say. And so that starts to help to alleviate some of the development pressure in the predominant or the majority of the land area where we want to see, limit growth, but still enables a variety of housing choices to come to the community. That's one of the things that I think, the committee heard sort of resonated throughout the whole process that Karen had talked about, is folks really want to be able to, when their children graduate high school or college, there's no place for them to live in Scarborough right now because home prices are what they are. And so what type of opportunities are there for either people starting out or retirees who might want to be moving out of some of the larger homes that are, that folks have raised their children and they've moved out. So I think that's some of the type of development. And Corey, please chime in. And
Sure, yeah, that's all really well articulated. And I would add as well that when we talk about Oak Hill proper, obviously there are different definitions of where certain areas begin and end. I think when we talk about Oak Hill proper, that big intersection that people usually have in mind, which sort of extends over to the Hannaford area, in my mind, and I think generally speaking, this is the case, you're really talking about more kind of opportunistic development where you may have occasional, what we call infill development opportunities, like the former site of public safety, which is at the corner there, which could end up being apartments, could end up being something else, or maybe something mixed use. There actually have been some kind of pocket development activities in the actual Oak Hill Plaza area. And so, I think in this, and certainly when I was on the planning board, this was the case that, when you talk about that area, which is already, it's true, that's already very, very fully, heavily developed. there are opportunities that do come up periodically when properties turn over or other things change, and there are still a few pockets that are developable. And certainly when you get down into the crossroads, the Downs and the Haggis area, then you really do have some development opportunities, which the town has tried to be very deliberate about. And then I would just, I certainly agree with the importance of protecting the marsh, as is evidenced by my backdrop. I don't know if you can see it, but and I would say that one of the silver linings of the last 8 or 9 months has been that I think people, the Eastern Trail and other parts of the marsh and other natural resources in town have gotten a ton of use. And my hope is that that's really helping to, really build the constituency for those places, and that people will really value the marsh and other places like that more and more. And that as we go forward, there will be a real will to continue to protect them.
Thank you, guys.
Go ahead, Jean Marie.
Caitlin, am I remembering correctly that you sent me a letter?
I
during my
did.
campaign? Okay, see, I thought I
Yes,
remembered you.
I did.
And if you don't mind, just for the rest of the panelists here, Caitlin wrote, she and her husband moved here, as she mentioned, because they, like the feel of Scarborough, and I don't blame them. And that's what we're trying to preserve. And her concern, and correct me if I'm wrong though, was what they were seeing as the rest of the build out on Eastern Village. And it comes right down to the trail. And like a lot of folks in town, they walk on the trail frequently. And so, and I believe, Caitlin, one of your concerns was, geez, I hope it's not going any further than that, right? Because you talked to me about, now am I remembering this correctly too? You talked to me about a pond you saw an otter in and whatnot.
Yeah.
See, the things I remember. No, it was a very well-written letter. It made an impact on me. So yeah, and I think as I got back to you, I'm so happy to see that you're here and involved with the comprehensive plan. And I really encourage you to take a good look at it and look at particularly the maps that show where the growth areas are and where they end, and how we feel it's so important to preserve those parts of town that we all love, which you say, the rural, the wild, the birds, the environment. So anyway, thank you for writing to me, and I did remember your letters.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, thanks for responding, all you guys, and thanks for answering those questions. I do. That is our main priority, because I haven't been here. I've been in Scarborough for about 6 years. And so those natural resources are just such a value to us. And it's just why we love the town. And so I know I hear the word growth, and I got to admit, it is a little scary to me to hear that. And I do recognize the need for some affordable housing. I mean, I know when I bought my house in Pleasant Hill area, and it's in the smaller, older part that was built in the 50s, 60s. So you still get some of the pocket of those smaller houses that were much more affordable even 6 years ago that I couldn't buy now. So I do understand that, that's a challenge, and that, but I would love to see somehow integrating natural resources and trees and things. I guess the Eastern Village was an example that I see so frequently, as it just looks like such a clear cut, development where there's these high rise buildings, and that would be our concern is limiting growth like that, finding a way to integrate, affordable housing, but yet how do we, make sure that we're protecting, the character of Scarborough, the environment that's so valuable here to a lot of people, I think, the trails, love the Pleasant Hill Conservation Area is great as well. So yeah, I'm gonna read that comprehensive plan and learn more about it. And thank you guys all for doing this and for answering those questions. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Happy to. And just as a reminder, once you do get a chance to read through the plan, we are going to have another forum on Tuesday, the 1st of December. So happy to have, any additional thoughts you have there. Again, feel free to send in an email, and as this goes along, there'll be public forums and hearings with town council who ultimately will adopt it. So plenty more opportunities to still read the plan now that you've got the primer from the video.
Yeah.
So great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? I'm not seeing, oh, Allison Bristol's hand just went up. Allison, welcome again.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Since there's a little bit of time, this is really just kind of a curiosity and a point of information. So I think it was Mr. Fellows that said that with Higgins Beach that it is a village. And is there any significance for choosing the word village, or in 2018 it was hamlet versus village versus, I would probably describe Higgins as a neighborhood. I think Anne had said that, and I would agree with that, more of a community or a neighborhood. So my question is there a reason that the word village is being used with a capital V?
Yeah, I think, Allison, I can speak to that, and others please join in, particularly Judy, Jean Marie, who've been in town longer. But what I will speak to is the word hamlet from the 2018 plan. That came from our consultants, and my understanding and recollection of the conversations from those who have lived in town for a long time is really we've called these various areas of the community, as Corey was talking about, villages. We don't use the terminology hamlet didn't fit the town of Scarborough. And so I think when the Long Range Planning Committee looked at that, and others in the community who reviewed the plan and sort of gave feedback, said that's not the term we've used here. So that's part of why you saw that transition from village to hamlet. And I think, Corey did a nice job of talking about, I remember part of the discussion too about being, yes, Higgins Beach is, it's an established village. It's largely built out, as was already mentioned. There's not a whole lot more room, which is different than the Eight Corners village. So I think that when you see the change from hamlet to village, that was really more to keep it in the local vernacular, and certainly others chime in if there's,
Well, to be really definitive, technically a hamlet's smaller than a village, but it's not quite as small as a neighborhood, so it's kind of an in-between word. But that's just from how they use it in England. I'll just tell you that. So, I mean, to me, I definitely get where Corey's coming from, because back in the day, you had the village of North Scarborough and the village of Dunstan and whatever within Scarborough, the environs of Scarborough, because Scarborough is huge, land-wise. So in that respects, we're very different than, I grew up in South Portland. We didn't refer to like Red Bank, Ferry Village, Ferry Village, there you go. Willard Beach, but we didn't refer to them as villages other than Ferry Village. But in Scarborough, they do, or did, so.
Okay, great, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Allison. There's just one or two other folks we haven't heard from. So if you would like to speak, certainly we'd love to hear from you. We've had a nice conversation tonight. I'm glad people have felt comfortable to put their hand up and voice their thoughts. So that's always good. Just sort of looking at our list, I'm not seeing any more hands go up. So I've said it before, and I'll say it one more time. My email is right there. Please do take a look at that. Also, I will encourage people, one thing I don't think we've mentioned yet, the town's website, we have a page dedicated to the comprehensive plan. It's been there sort of all along, but we're really starting to populate it with some additional information. These videos will be up there. Of course, the comp plan itself is up there. So we encourage folks to take a look at that as well. And my email is right there as another way to get in touch with the committee. As I said, still not seeing any hands up. The next meeting that we hope people might attend, if you so choose, would be December 1st, Tuesday, after Thanksgiving. And I don't know if anyone else on the committee has any other final words. I think we covered some good ground tonight.
Yeah, just thank everybody for showing up and wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. It's going to be a different Thanksgiving this year, but we shall overcome and carry on.
Thanks for everybody's input.
All right, thank you. Thanks to everyone.
Yep.
Great. Okay, everyone. We'll have a nice evening.
Thanks, Jay.
Bye.
Bye.
Be well.